That was the best comment.
I gotta find it.
Anyway, I know what it said. It basically said, "Was I the only one that was cheering whenever Andy Dalton got hurt?" Which is just, man, that's terrible. But actually,
Yep, I got it.
there it is. FJ. I just wanted to give him credit. FJ the King or the Kang. Throw it up, man. Thanks for watching. That's hilarious. I was not cheering that he was hurt. Actually, to be completely honest with you, I have the volume off, so I didn't hear that he was hurt. All I saw is I think I went to go get some coffee or something. Look up and I see Justin Fields. I'm like, let's go, Justin Fields, let's go. I was so hyped. So, but let's talk about Justin Fields for a second. Justin Fields wasn't that good. He wasn't. He looked like a rookie. He looked very average. The play calling, I feel like, was fine. A lot of people were like, the play calling sucked. I don't see a problem with it. He just didn't execute that well. And the Bears didn't execute that well as a team. They didn't. We're bad. This is the week 2. The Bears are not a good team. They're not a good team, sadly. We just have to face it. We have to look in the mirror. We have to, just be honest with ourselves. We have to go to therapy about it. We're not a good team anymore. A lot of the guys that were good on the team are gone. They're either retired. We have a few good pieces. We have Khalil Mack, who's still in his prime. We have Hicks, who's still somewhat in his prime. We have a couple. Jackson played well last night. This is what I will say. As far as Justin Fields, the offense played poorly. The line was poor. He had virtually no time to even consider his reads. There were a few times when he'd snap the ball and he was immediately on the run. But I will say this. He was much more talented than Andy Dalton, and he gives us a much better chance to win. Regardless, I think after watching these 2 games, we're probably only going to win maybe 6 to 7 games this year. Because I think we're not going to be a winning team this year. So this is Matt Nagy's mentality. Let me break that down really quick while I go on my little rant, and then I want to hear from you guys. Matt Nagy's mentality is, all right, I'll get Andy Dalton in there. He'll run everything poorly. He'll run everything. He'll do all of the plays that I want him to do. He'll do them exactly how I want them to do them. But he won't complete any of the plays, and he won't bring anything dynamic to the table. So he'll bring absolutely nothing dynamic. He won't help us win. We're going to win 6, no matter Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, 7 to 8 games max. 7 to 8 games max, maybe 9 if we're absolutely incredibly lucky. So we have to lower our expectations. If you put Justin Fields in, he's going to struggle. There's going to be games that are going to be hard, but he's also you're going to see flashes of greatness. You're going to see amazing throws. You're going to see excitement. And if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. That's part of football. We need to learn that. But it's not a good team, so just roll the dice. That's what I would say. And the other thing I would say on the defensive end, which do you want to wait? You want to wait until I get into that?
Yeah. So let's stay offense. So
let's talk about
I got some positives. Yep.
Ross, did you get to see that Bears game at all, or see highlights of it?
I watched the highlights, and here's the thing. I know you guys are kind of down on it, but I see potential from this kid. Like, what we're looking at here, again, he didn't have the passing yards. Again, the rushing yards were there. You guys are a great kind of rushing team at this point, at least in that game. Yards per play could have been a little bit better, but no real big turnovers. You only had 1 interception the whole game, while your defense made them cough it up 3 times. You got a fumble recovery. I mean, there's a lot of good points to the Bears team that I think they're gonna work out. I mean, you had 3 sacks on the day. You had 61 total plays. You controlled the time of possession. I think this Bears could be a good middling team, and as they gain chemistry, I think you guys can be a force within the next season or 2. You got that running game that when it's working, it works. You have a team that looks like they're tightening things up, except for the penalties. That hurt you. You had 8 penalties for 70 yards. That kind of hurt you. But when I looked at Justin Fields' stats, that's not bad for a rookie quarterback. That shows he's not just kicking the ball all over the place. Imagine if you had Zach, from the Jets. Could you imagine if you had to deal with 4 picks in one game against a strong defense that will capitalize on it? I think you guys are in the right direction. I don't necessarily have trust in Nagy, but the people around him, I think, are solid.
So here's what I agree with a lot of I agree with a lot of that. So Justin Fields wasn't good in his debut, and I 100% don't. He wasn't. I shouldn't say he wasn't. He wasn't spectacular.
Yeah, for a rookie, yes.
He looked like a rookie, and you know what? It wasn't his fault. Andy Dalton got hurt, and the kid got thrown to the wolves right then and there. All right, kid, here you go. Now, there were flashes where you could see kind of what that Bears offense would probably look like with Justin Fields running it. Since like you had stated earlier, Ross, that in that like JD had said earlier, the center and guards didn't play well. JD, up the heart of your line, your center had a really bad game, and that doesn't help because he's supposed to be the general on the field for the offensive line. But I don't there's potential there. Like, I don't blame Justin Fields. Like, he was 6 of 13. He was 6 of 13, and then he for like 65 yards, I think, in the air, and then I think he had 30 on the ground. So I really do like the dual threat. I like the dual threat ability that Fields brings to that Justin Fields brings to the offense that you guys would run it. And I do think that, like, I do agree with Ross too. The offensive play calling would be much different, and I think it actually, the way the Bears are designed, especially with Ty Montgomery,
David,
I think that team is designed to fit Fields better than Andy Dalton. I really do. And they should, if Andy Dalton is even in question of starting next week, then Fields should take all of the QB1 reps this week. I'm not even kidding. He should take all of the QB1 reps.
I think you're right. I think there's absolutely Andy Dalton. From what I've seen these last 2 weeks, this is Andy Dalton is a car salesman selling you a dud, because this you've seen the best years, man, of Andy Dalton. He is not the same guy he was in Cincinnati. He's trying to sell you this Pro Bowl quarterback. He's not that guy anymore. When he was with Dallas, how did they do? Look at them now. Replace Dak and Andy Dalton right now. Like, it's insane. I'm not comparing Dak and Andy Dalton. Obviously, Dak's much better in general. But at one point, Andy Dalton threw for 4,500 yards in this league. So he was a good player. He's not anymore. He can't make the throws. And not only that, but we have absolutely nothing to gain from putting Andy Dalton in. We have everything to gain from putting Justin Fields in. Let the offensive line get accustomed to Justin Fields. Let the receivers get accustomed to Justin Fields. Let everyone get, the coaches, everyone get accustomed to him. Also, Justin Fields showed, I mean, I won't say flashes. He showed a glimmer, a little spark of greatness on maybe two plays. I'd say there was one throw that I was like, wow, that was a nice throw. Andy Dalton's not making that throw. Nick Foles probably isn't making that throw. Just the velocity and everything. And also just the athleticism. And then there was that breakaway where he was running and he broke that tackle and ran for about 15 yards. That was phenomenal. I just think Andy Dalton brings nothing to the table, and Fields is just the only option, in my opinion. Going back to Andy Dalton looks stupid to me. It looks weak and dumb at this point, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing
was.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Russ. That leads me into my next thing that I wanted. Is there a quarterback controversy in Chicago?
Ooh.
I think so. What were you going to say, though, Ross, about that? I think there is.
I think this team was designed for Justin Fields, whether it be now or a season or two from now. It was very similar to us when we were thinking Cam was going to start this season. I lost a bet on a jersey. Like, literally, I bet Cam was going to start because all this. I think the only reason the Red Rocket was there was because they wanted to give him a season to sit down, learn, and figure out the playbook and NFL life in general. The thing I love about Justin Fields, he can make moves that the Red Rocket just can't. Like, a sack comes in, I can see Justin Fields shaking that off. I can see him being dynamic. The Red Rocket, unfortunately, I believe, halfway through the season, or if not this coming game, he's going to lose his starting job. The way I see it, anyways.
Me and JD had talked earlier, and it's one of those things, and it perfectly. We JD said it before in one of our previous podcasts that you'd rather take the unknown Justin Fields ceiling over and you know exactly what you get with Andy Dalton, and you know where his ceiling is and how good or bad he's going to do. You know what he is. But that unknown factor that Fields brings, that playmaking ability, and just the it factor that and the swagger and just all of the stuff that he carries with him, it's almost worth giving it a shot at this point.
I'm just going to say it, all right? Let's cut Andy Dalton. If you want to start Nick Foles, go ahead. Start Nick Foles. I don't really care. But let's just cut Andy Dalton. Let's stop pretending that Andy Dalton is going to bring us to the playoffs or something like that. Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl. All right, he was the starting quarterback on a Super Bowl championship team. And Justin Fields, can't even think of his name, has been to, I think, 2 national championship games. Andy Dalton hasn't done crap. Now, I loved Andy Dalton when he was in TCU because I was like, oh, this little school, good for him, blah, blah, blah. But ever since then, he's been an average to slightly above average quarterback. And in the last 3 years, I'd say he's been very below average. So let's just cut him, stop pretending like he's anything at all. And we can use Nick Foles or Justin Fields because I feel like he's just a waste at this point.
I can't disagree with you, my friend. I can't. Like, I don't see
Dalton is like an old Dahatson. Dalton's like an old Datsun. Dahatsun, and Fields is like a Nissan Skyline. Let the kid playing.
Let him go. Let him go. You know what? If he does 20 interceptions and 15 touchdowns, it's like 4 rushing touchdowns, I don't care, dude. Whatever. Because here's the thing. He'll learn. He'll have a ton of tape to look over. If you don't let him play, he'll have 0 tape to look over. Think about that for a second.
That's what I'm saying. Justin Fields should get all of the QB1 reps this week. He should.
What is Dalton going to bring to our franchise? What is Dalton going to bring to Chicago? Like, long term? Because here's the thing. You had me sold in the offseason. Dalton had us all sold. He was like, all right, guys, I'm bringing you this nice vehicle. It's a reliable vehicle. It's nice. And then we got it in the parking lot, and literally in 2 weeks, we're like, all right, this vehicle sucks, dude. This is trash. Like, you sold us, we were going to get there. It was going to be a stable vehicle for you to get to the playoffs. You sold us a dud.
You know what Andy Dalton is? You know what? Andy Dalton's the car salesman that takes like the odometer and dials it back, and you drive the car off the lot, and it like explodes 3/4 of a mile off the dealership.
That's exactly what he is. Yes, it's perfect. That's Andy Dalton. He's done it. So I say cut him. I say cut him because Nick Foles, he has a higher ceiling than Andy Dalton. He does.
Ross, final thoughts on the Bears offense before we head over to the defensive side.
I think there's a lot of positives you guys can take from this game. I truly believe that you guys are going to be a force to reckon with. Like, it may take some time, but Justin Fields, Chubb, like these guys that you got on your team is just stupid. It's just that O-line. Like, I think there's like a few key pieces from making you guys literally one of those teams that are like, where did they come from? I think you guys could be a dark horse team if the right things come together.
I think next year we could be dangerous, very dangerous next year. But this year we just got to learn, man.
It would not surprise me if Nagy and the Bears in the offseason got drafted offensive linemen high in the draft to protect Fields. It wouldn't surprise me.
Guys, so. I'm gonna switch to my Mac, my desktop. Just give me 2 minutes, and I'll be right back.
No, you're fired. All right. So, JD, let's swap over to the defensive side of the football now for the Bears, which that was dominant. The defense played. Dude, let's be honest. The D played their ass off against Cincy. They play well.
The defensive coordinator, I keep on forgetting his name. Hold on. Here's the coordinator. Let me pull up his name real quick. I want to say it because it's important. It's Sean Desai. Thank you. Sean Desai got the game ball after the game, and it's funny. I even said that. Like I might have even said that in the video I made. But I was like, yeah, this guy should get the game ball because the scheme was good. So the first 2 quarters, I was watching this pretty closely. The first 2 or 3 quarters, it was a solid scheme. Everything was just, hunky dory and pretty good. And I don't remember if it was the second or was it the third quarter? I think it was the third quarter when when Joe Burrow just like crapped the bed, man. He just 3 straight interceptions. Thank you, Joe Burrow. It was like it was so bad.
But I think you guys just got to him. I think the D forced those. It's not like It's not like Burrow gave you those. You guys forced those interceptions.
Well, there's something that Matt Nagy had said, and it's so true. And this is what happens when the Bears' young defensive backs are locked in and the scheme is good. This is what happens. So he said that they have the swarm to them, like they have like a swarm factor, like they all swarm together, like they all kind of swarm to the ball, and then they kind of, after the third interception, they stopped swarming. What happened right after that? Can anyone tell me?
The Bengals started to climb back into the game.
2 straight touchdowns, back to back.
Yep, they drove right down. I remember after that last INT, they drove right down on you guys and scored, and then they did it again.
So this talent is so volatile. It's like the thin line between dominant and crap is right there in the Chicago Bears defense.
I will give. So I put your cornerbacks Jackson and Johnson there in the doghouse last week, but Johnson
played well.
They played well. Johnson played really well.
And Jackson had a few good tackles, but Johnson was like a coverage beast. He was a nightmare. He was big and long.
And they were trying to pick on him too, and he was still like you could tell they were trying to pick on him, and he held his ground all game. Another game ball for the defensive side. Khalil Mack played really well in that game.
Yes, we need him to continue. He's going to have a tough life the next couple of years because he's got to be our staple. He's the only thing that's going to keep us in games for him and a few of the defensive. He's got to be the guy that keeps us in games because we have a lot of young guys, man. He's going to be the old guy in the room now. And did you hear that report that the Raiders tried to get Khalil Mack back in the offseason?
I remember seeing. I remember seeing something about it. I didn't think it was real, though. Did they really try to get him back?
I don't. Hey, you never know these days with the fake news. I don't know, but if that's true, which I did see a few different tweets about that. Report has it that John Gruden inquired about what it would take to get Khalil Mack back. It's dude, honestly, they've had 2-3 years to draft these guys.
Hold on, JD. Hold on.
Anyone interested in turnovers? Hey, that's my guy. No, I'm just kidding. That's not my guy. That ain't my guy.
Can you guys hear me? I was having some audio issues.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm okay with just cutting him. I really am.
But you said it, you did say it perfectly before though. You were everybody in the league knows exactly what he is, what his ceiling is, what he's going to give you, what he can bring, where his limitations are. They know Andy Dalton inside and out from him being in the league for so long. Justin Fields is the wild card.
He is. He's clearly more talented. Even if he couldn't run, forget dual threat, that arm, the ball zips out of his hand. He has probably a top 20 arm in the world. So you have Andy Dalton, who has maybe a top 50, 60, 70 arm in the world. You got him, and then you have the arm talent of, even if Andy Dalton would have less turnovers, I would still rather have Justin Fields.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So let's continue on. I want to
Do you mind if I make a quick statement on the defense?
go for it, Ross.
Please.
I again, looking at Roquan Smith, we're looking at Nichols, and we're looking at Robert Quinn. Like, there's a lot of potential. Khalil Mack, 1 sack on the day, spinning on tackles. It doesn't look as bad on paper than it does on television. You know what I'm saying? I think there is potential here, and I think there's things that can be tightened up.
Well, if you can get a good offense with a good running game and a good quarterback to control the time of possession, to control the team, and then you have that defense with young guys all who grew up together, basically, who are with 3 different quarterbacks, 3 different defensive coordinators and stuff like that. They all grew up together. They all have this chemistry together. You have that, because that's what the Bears have done. We've always done. We build defenses and we keep them together. And if we have that with a Justin Fields and a consistent, like you said, if we draft some offensive linemen and some other young pieces, there's no telling what the Bears could do. We could win 2 or 3 Super Bowls. You never know, but you'll never know until you let him sling it, as they say. You got to let him go, man. You can't
there is one person,
or Andy Dalton.
There is one person on that team that is going to benefit more than anything from Justin Fields being the quarterback, and that's Allen Robinson.
And me. Yes, Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson could be a stud with just a Justin Fields-led offense, because with Justin Fields under center, you actually have to respect you have to respect the dual threat offense, and 2, they come on, let's be honest, right? Defensive coordinators are not going to respect Andy Dalton's athletic ability. You have to look at Justin Fields, and you have to respect the athletic ability that he has.
Yeah, exactly. You would have to game plan for Fields. You have to game plan for Fields. And honestly, here's what I'll say. Matt Nagy, I got to bring this up before we move on. Matt Nagy was asked, apparently, this is according to reports, he's asked, hey, who are you going to start, Fields, or are you going to start Dalton? And he goes, I don't know, we're not going to talk about that. But then another coach apparently said that Nagy plans on starting Dalton. Now, I hope this is what happens. I hope that he actually starts Fields, says he starts Dalton, hopes that the other team doesn't game plan, is the Browns. The Browns don't game plan for Fields, and we start Fields. Because do you think Andy Dalton even has a remote chance against the Browns?
And the Browns defensive line, not a chance.
He's going to get destroyed, especially with a sore hip. Justin Fields, though, he has a chance. Justin Fields has a chance against the Browns.
In that case, they have to play contained defense. When you have a quarterback that's dynamic, like Justin Fields, you have to hold the edges, and you have to keep your gaps, because Justin Fields could sneak out and steal 5 yards easy. You know how quick this kid is. There is a lot of potential here, and I want him to start because I do have Allen Robinson in fantasy football. And,
people underestimate too. The Bears are a young team. They're not that old. They're not the Bears that we remember. Like they're not that aging team again. They've turned a lot of that roster over. The Bears are a very young team, and they're still kind of gelling. And when they do, if they ever did get a couple of, serviceable offensive linemen for Fields to just give him maybe an extra half second, they're not far. The Bears are not far away from being a serious threat to a lot of people.
I would also say that to add to your Allen Robinson point, you said that Allen Robinson has the most to gain from Justin Fields.
Yes.
He's wanting he's wanting a deal. Lots of money, big bag, secure the bag, get a huge financial deal, like 4 or 5 years. If Fields, you don't know what you have in Allen Robinson, but if you put Fields and Robinson out there together and they mesh, then why wouldn't you sign Allen Robinson to a long deal?
Well, Allen Robinson can use that as in his negotiations. You want me to stay? You start Justin Fields.
Yeah, but if I'm the coach, I want that though, because I want to know, like, hey, is this a good combo? Because if it's not a good combo, I'm going to use that in the negotiations. I'm going to be like, well, you can't even play with my rookie quarterback. Why should I sign you to a long deal? I'll give you one more year for $5 million. You know what I mean? Like, you got to know. You got to know. It's better to know.